recorded today that will be uploaded to our Business Career Services YouTube library. So this will be a resource for students in the future if they aren't able to participate today. Our session will be 50 minutes long, and we have 4 panelists with us today, and we'll introduce you all here in just a second. We do have our predetermined questions, but again, participants, if you have questions also, we would love to hear those as well. Let's see here. Make sure, students, that all of your videos are on. We would love to see your face so we can engage as best as possible with you while you're here with us today. And then finally, we will have some great raffle prize giveaways for our students that are attending today. We will give those away at the end, so be sure that you stay logged on for the entire session. And we have a little wheel that we're going to spin, and we'll have 3 great giveaways that our employers, our recruiting employers that we have here today have provided. So thank you for those. And then we'll have you give the winners, give your contact information to our Zoom co-pilot, Allie. At the end, she'll provide her email address. But employers, if you have those, if you're planning on coming later this week to the career fair, please bring that with you, and you can drop that off with me or someone in our center, and then we can coordinate for the students to pick that up here in Business Career Services. Just to make that easy if you're going to be here. If not, we can coordinate to get that mailed. All right, so any questions about anything I've covered so far? Thumbs up, everyone. Awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with our fantastic panelists. Our panel today is all about women in business. And I have 4 really fantastic women that are with me here today that are going to share some insights and their stories and perspectives, your wisdom with our panel or with our attendees here today, because these are all women looking to go into business once they graduate. And they're dipping their toe in the water now. And so you guys, ladies, have a lot of great insights that you're going to be able to share with us. So we have Amy from Enterprise. If you'll give a wave so everybody can see you. We also have Brittany from Sherwin-Williams. Give a wave. Awesome. And then we have Ashley from, oh, please, am I going to say it right? Epes. Did I say it right, Ashley? And
it's
then
Epes.
Epes. I mess it up. I'm sorry. See?
It's all right.
And then we have Lauren from Haynes. Awesome, lady. So if you each would like to take a few minutes to introduce yourselves, tell us about your educational and your career backgrounds, what you're doing now. And we'll be sure to remind everyone that all of the panelists here today and for the remainder of the sessions this week, all of these panelists are recruiters that are going to be here at the career fair, either virtually or in person. And so we want you all to take this opportunity to get to know them beforehand. So you feel really good on Thursday, or if you're meeting them Friday, introducing yourselves, because you're like, hey, I've already chatted with you in a panel this week, right? So ladies, go ahead and make your introductions, and whoever wants to start can go.
Hi, ladies. Can you guys hear me okay? Thumbs up. Cool. All right. Hi, I'm Amy Kassari. I work with Enterprise Holdings, Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Most of you are probably more aware of Enterprise Rent-A-Car versus Enterprise Holdings. But so I have been with Enterprise 10 years. It'll be my 11th year in February, which is crazy to think that I have, been out of college and in a career for that long. I blinked and I'm just like, getting old, but it's fine. I'm just so excited to be able to speak to all of you today virtually. And I look forward to seeing you in person this week at the career fair, the first in-person career fair in a long time. So if you've never been to one, it is a great opportunity to get out there and meet all of the different employers and just really see what it's all about. I'm going to put something in the chat. If you guys could go ahead and just click this tiny URL link and just enter your name, first name, last name, email, your major when you're graduating. And I'd love to stay in contact with you after. But welcome. So glad that you're here. And I look forward to talking to you a little bit more later.
Thanks, Amy. All right, who wants to go next?
I can go next. My name is Lauren McMahan. I am with Haynes Companies. I've been here for 10 years next year, which, like Amy, it's crazy. I purchased eye cream for myself for my birthday this year for the first time ever. I was like, what is happening? Wrinkles. Welcome to my 30s. So I went to University of Alabama for my undergraduate. 10 years later, I decided with the backing of my company to go back and get my MBA. So I'm actually enrolled in school like you all right now. I go to Lenore Ryan in 2 nights a week, 6 to 9 o'clock at night. So that's a whole nother full-time job because homework and tests, I get it. Like Allie, you're shaking your head. You're like, yeah, I'm there. I get it. 5 years of my career with Haynes have been at a branch in 2 different states. I've relocated twice with the company. My last 5 years have been in corporate human resources. I'm newly promoted into our director of human resources here at Haynes Companies. So right now my oversight is North America. We have about 1,400 people that I do, a team of 5 that I work with. We are owned by Leggett & Platt, who is an S&P 500 company that invented the box spring in the 1800s. So that's kind of something you can put in your brain, the box spring. I can just be the bed girl. That's easier to remember. But I'm looking forward to meeting y'all next week. Like Amy said, first time in a while. We're all of us are probably going to be overzealous to see you students. So just give us a break when we get too excited. So I'm excited to see y'all next week and encourage you to come check me out.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. All right. Who wants to go next? Ashley?
I can go next. I'm Ashley Scarborough. I am talent acquisition manager at Epes Transport. We are a trucking company. We've been around since 1931. I'm going on my 4th year here. I've been in recruiting like Lauren and Amy for right at 10 years. So again, giving my age out there too. I started off recruiting, did not go to school for recruiting, and kind of fell into the recruiting HR realm. I have actually looked into potentially going back to school as well. We were purchased by Penske back in 2018. So we are under that Penske logistics side umbrella, but we are still working as a separate entity as far as still running as Epes Transport. I am really looking forward to getting back into in-person career fairs, probably as much as anyone else. But yeah, I'm here if you guys need anything, have any questions, or want to stop by and see me this week.
Awesome, Ashley. Thank you so much. All right. Last but not least, Brittany.
Hey guys, I'm Brittany Heaney and I work for Sherwin-Williams, the paint company. I am in the district sales manager in Asheville. So we cover from all the way from Murphy to Boone to Hickory, Morganton, Lenore, that area down to Asheville. I've been with Sherwin-Williams for 6 years and started as soon as I got out of college, and I too have relocated. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I am so excited to hear what the other ladies have to share, and I will be there this week as well. So I would love to meet some of y'all in person.
I didn't mean to ask you to unmute, Ashley. Just trying to unmute myself.
It's okay.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you for those introductions. I think overwhelmingly, we're all excited to be back in person, it sounds like, myself included. So these virtual panels are a really valuable way that we can connect that doesn't require you to travel even earlier before the career fair. So we like this part, but we cannot wait to see you guys on Thursday. So I think the students are pretty excited too. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with some of our questions. Again, we have some ladies here today that are looking to go into business after they graduate, and you all have been there, done that, you've seen it, you've experienced it, and now we get to share a little bit. So, so hopefully we can sidestep some of those roadblocks maybe that you all have experienced before, and so helping to clear the path. But our first question I have today, because I think it's important in order for us to understand our own leadership and our own style and how we want to lead, we often need to look back on some of those leaders that have had a positive impact on us. And then we can say, hey, I know I like those qualities, and that's maybe what I want to try to pursue as well. So to each of you, because I'm sure you all have different stories, who is a leader that you look up to and why? And Amy, you want to go first?
Sure. So, so funny enough, our CEO at Enterprise, her name is Chrissy Taylor, and Enterprise, was founded by Jack Taylor back in 1957. And so Chrissy is actually Jack's granddaughter. And what I think is super cool about that story, and there's a lot more details that I could go into, but we don't have all day. But what I think is super cool about it is that even though Chrissy was, in the family, right, like she kind of like had the birthright of being, part of Enterprise, she started from the ground up. So she started as an intern. She actually changed her last name to not be reflective of the Taylor family last name because she didn't want people to know that she was associated with, the Taylor family. And so I think that that was really cool and very humbling to be a person that could have very easily gone in and just, said, well, this is mine, and had that entitlement. And she really like hit the ground running, started in the year 2000 as an intern, and really worked her way up through Enterprise, and has just a phenomenal work ethic, and is somebody that is just a very genuine person and that really truly cares about the employees, the customers, and why we do what we do in our business here at Enterprise. And I think that that is just such a true representation of what I think a female leader should be. She's not scared to make a difficult decision. She's not scared to, speak her mind and tell the truth and tell like it is, but she's also very compassionate and understanding. And so she became CEO with Enterprise, like January, it was like predated that it would be like January 2020. And then COVID happened, March 2020, right? So like she immediately like came into the business and was like, here you go, you're now promoted to CEO. And then the world just like fell apart. So she's handled it with grace. We've seen all sides of her. We've seen that empowerment, that leadership. We've also seen the tears. And so I think that that's just what makes her such a great leader. And one day, hopefully I can be, obviously I'm probably never going to be like Chrissy Taylor, but I would like to, live up to, how she represents herself.
That's awesome. So I heard work ethic, humility, authenticity. Those are some really great qualities for sure to think about with leadership. Who else wants to add to that? Who is a leader to you and why?
I'll go next. So I think the biggest thing for me, I've had a few throughout my career, but I would say the biggest one for me right now is our VP of HR. Amy Medlin actually just started her new role as VP of HR back in March. And if anyone is familiar, trucking companies are very male heavily populated, executive team and everything. And she actually replaced a male executive he is retiring soon. So he was VP of HR for 20 years or so. So she's recently started. So she has a lot of stuff that she has to kind of go to bat for. And the rest of the executive team is males. So she is the only female on the executive team right now. And I think just listening to her day to day and stuff, she's got a lot going on. But she's still very present and understands where she came from. She's big on kind of helping her team grow. She's been somewhat of a mentor for me on the side outside of me reporting to her, just kind of helping me with some of the talent acquisition stuff and making some changes and everything. But she is 100% on board with, making things better. She understands, like I said, where she came from. So it's huge to know that not only does she have your back, but she also knows where I'm coming from, trying to have my voice heard in a very male populated company.
It's important that you know who your advocates are, right? And that they've got your back. Yeah, that's, if any of you all have ever met Michelle Beauclair, my supervisor, she is #1 advocate for us. So that's really important to me as well. Awesome. All
I'll
right.
go next if that's okay. So my VP of sales is my current mentor, and she too, like has already been discussed, doesn't change who she is because of the leadership role. And that to me is so important. Her personality is never too big, but also watching her make decisions and not being afraid to make those decisions and thinking through them has been a game changer for me, because not only does she make the decisions, but she walks me through why. So she explains the why behind the what so well. It just makes me want to run through a brick wall for her. The other thing I would say is she balances life. So work-life balance isn't real, obviously, but she's a great parent and she's also in a traveling job. So that to me is something that I look for in a mentor, because I want to do both. That's it.
That's it. You gotta walk the walk, right? So model that behavior that you hope that you get to experience as an employee with the company, right? When you see your leader doing that, it gives you faith that it's really okay to take that time off, right? So I think that's hard to do sometimes. Excellent, Lauren.
So what I would add is I had a few notes on that. I have a couple that were external outside my company that I don't personally know, but there's definitely some value that I gained from them. Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, has an amazing book called Lean In. I don't know if y'all have read it. It's just a phenomenal book that talks about her journey through, her personal tragedies, her professional tragedies, how she's grown and come into who she is today. And it's not the traditional story. It's not a fairy tale, right? She's very open and authentic with her struggles and putting family first, how to balance her husband's career, how to balance being in a male dominated field and how she came up. And I would encourage you all to read it. I think it's a really good book, just even if you take a couple bits from it. So I would encourage you to add that to your list. Another one that's external, I read an article about her in the Wall Street Journal, I think a couple weeks ago, and I had to write her name down because I'm not as familiar, but Lauren Hobert, she's the new Dick's CEO. So she's the first CEO outside of the family line. She is a she, right? So that's a big deal for an athletics supply company like Dick's. And if you're not familiar with Dick's, they're like a academy, stuff like that. So sporting goods. And she talks about how the article, and if I can find it, I will email to Amy and she can send it out. But it's a really cool article because her mentor was male. And I think that's important too to remember, is you don't have to have a female mentor to embrace who you are. But what she does is she really was embracing who she was. She didn't change her qualities, her authenticity. And her mentor, who was the former CEO and a part of the family line, told her that, you were chosen because of who you are. You weren't put in this role to change and to harden. You were put in this role to be you, to be Lauren, to be that person that you are today. And so I think a lot of it is just embracing who you are and being okay with that, because those skills that you have as a female is something that is special. And so that's something that I took away from that article, and I'll try to find it. Internally, like many of these other ladies, my mentor internally is my boss. She recently got promoted into our parent company, and that's what led my promotion. But she's one who embodies that work-life balance. She embodies authenticity. She's who she is, doesn't change for anybody, and those are values that I've continued to gain. And what she's taught me is the best thing I can do is find my own replacement, right? I never want to try to say I'm better than anybody. The best thing I can do is find my replacement so I can move up and grow. There's so many other things, but internally she's definitely a mentor of mine.
I love that you all have that internal female leader that you can look up to, and they're present with you in your role. So ladies, if you are looking around in your classrooms and you are surrounded by a bunch of men and you're concerned that that's what the business world is going to look like, that's not necessarily true. All four of these women have really fantastic female leaders within their own companies. So, so don't fear if you're feeling that now. So ladies, thank you for those perspectives on who a leader is to all of you. Our next question, I think, is a good segue because maybe some of those leaders are mentors or maybe started as mentors, but how important is it to have a mentor, and what steps can you take to build that type of relationship?
I can go. I think so. How important is it? It's huge. I think even if it's just someone in a very similar role or has taken a similar path that you're taking. So a little bit about, we have a career path program, so it's for recent grads. And we don't set you up with a career path mentor, but we definitely encourage you to kind of talk and communicate with some of them because they go to different departments, male or female, just to kind of get an insight. I think once you get into your role, though, you kind of see who you work with and who you'll be working alongside. And naturally, I kind of gravitated towards Amy, I think because she was female and she has started out in the HR world, not really going to school for HR. So I think that's why I kind of gravitated to her a little bit more. But I would say it's very important, and don't rush into it. Make sure that it's the right fit. You don't want someone that has goals that are not on path with yours, or someone that is, here when you're shooting for the stars, or however you want to put it. A lot of people get complacent. So making sure that it's the right fit, I think, is the biggest thing. And then just reaching out to them. The biggest thing for me was reaching out to her. At one point, I did not report to her. And I was like, hey, can we go grab lunch? And she was like, yeah, sure. Because we worked in the same department, but we didn't work alongside each other very often. And now I report to her and I have a great relationship with her. And she's helped me a lot with my role now. So I would say take the time. Don't always go straight for the first female you find that you work with. Make sure that it's a fit. But have a few. Don't just settle with one either, because even though they may have the same department or something, you may have a lot in common with other women, though, in the company.
I'll go next if that's okay. That was great. Ashley said so many good things. Amy, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
Nope,
Okay.
I'm just nodding and agreeing. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I have had so many mentors along the way in my career, and this is something I'm so passionate about because I think it's similar to dating, right? Like your values have to line up, and if they don't, then it's not going to be an effective mentorship. So to piggyback off of what Ashley said, right? Like pick by your values and what your goals are. But I will comment on this as well. My mentors haven't always been women. They've been men, and I have always gotten the best guidance when I make sure that my circle is diverse, because all of the guidance that's given are from different backgrounds, different experiences. And most of the time, I try to get guidance from people who don't have similar backgrounds to me, because I love when I connect with someone who has a similar experience, but you're not getting a different perspective, which sometimes is the game changer. I just am such a big advocate for mentorships. The best way that's always worked for me to establish them is to find 3 or 4 questions that I genuinely need guidance on and reach out, like Ashley was saying, just to engage people, because I only mentor when people reach out to me, right? Like if there's someone that I feel like maybe I can help, I'll reach out. But normally the mentorships happen when people have reached out to me or when I've reached out to the other person. So just don't be afraid to have that confidence and say like, hey, do you mind having lunch, right? Hey, do you want to grab a cup of coffee? Or hey, do you have time for a virtual call?
Yeah, I think Brittany, I completely agree. Ashley, you both had really great input on that, and you're totally right. You're not going to have one, or it's probably best not to have one mentor that you go to all the time, because they're only going to give you one side of that information. And so it's great to have people in your corner that are mentors. And there's also people that are great to have in your corner that are advocates for you as well. And when I think about a mentor, you know, I am thinking of such a diverse group of mentors that I've had that have helped me along the way. You know, maybe it could be through my communication and how, you know, maybe somebody is explaining something to me and how I'm receiving that information. And to me, maybe it doesn't come across the way I want to hear it. So I'm able to talk to that mentor and they're able to help me understand, well, maybe that person wasn't saying it like that. Think about it from this perspective. So it's helped me in also a very male dominated business, have that better communication and understanding of kind of where the breakdown is. So I think that has been super helpful for me in my role and the way to be able, at least the way I've always kind of broke the ice or established those relationships is identifying, you know, all right, what do I want? Where do I want to be? Who are the people around me? What's the tribe around me that's going to help me get there? And then starting off with building those great relationships with each of those people. And then I really, you know, I find myself in a more of organic mentor relationships versus a very structured one, just because I'm a talker and I just really love to talk to people and get to know everyone. So they do just end up becoming very organic for me personally.
I mean, this was all really, really good. And I wrote down some notes that have helped me. It was really being intentional, you know, being informed, being patient, and being proactive. And if you think of those things, you know, being intentional with who you're choosing, choose people that are not like you, you know. I think myself, you know, I'm like Amy, I'm very people oriented. I'm very social. I didn't need a structured program. But what I did need was a perspective on the business, financially, data, right? So I had a relationship with some folks in our accounting group and just started building that up to gain their perspective, to learn how they see the business. It helps me professionally because as I'm recruiting, I get to, like, you know, speak the language. I learn a different side of the business, but then I learn how they interpret stuff. And that's very important to have that diverse thought process, to say, this is how I always think, but this is the other side. And that's dangerous when you get both sides. I mean, that is dangerous. You have got it. Being informed, I'd encourage you, if you join a company or when you join a company, join groups on LinkedIn that are about that industry. So you are aware of what's happening, trends. If you do go in HR, you know, look at labor trends, look at the unemployment rate, join SHRM, at least to get their free newsletter. Or whatever your avenue is, right? Like Amy said, find your tribe and, like, I learned. So then when you're there, you can speak to it. You're informed, and be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. Don't think that because, you know, they didn't come home and send you a text, they're not ghosting you. You know, they're just, it takes time, you know, and just be proactive. Don't wait for a structured program. COVID has thrown a ton of mentor-mentee programs off the tracks. For us, it has, I'm sure, at other companies and even the university. It is so challenging to rewrite the rules of a structured program when you don't even have the rule book yet, because it's so up in the air. So go be proactive. You know, you don't need corporate approval to go have a video chat with somebody or go grab a coffee safely and securely. Ask them, they'll say, no, we could do video, but be proactive. Try to reach out and go see them. So those are all things that I think about when I think about how I built my tribe, if you will.
Awesome. That is all really good advice. And it sounds like there's a woman that I met a long time ago, Angela Matherly, and her best advice to me was build your board of directors. And it sounds like that's what you're all saying, is like, get that diverse group of people, right? Your board of directors can be inside your organization, outside of your organization. They can be men, they can be women, but surround yourself with people that are going to support you and be honest with you, because there's no point in having a mentor that just tells you what you want to hear, right? We need honest feedback so we can grow in our roles and who we are. So yeah, find that diverse group of people to help you along the way.
Amy, you just said something that made me think of something else that I'm sorry to interrupt you about.
It's okay.
But you made a comment of finding somebody that will support you, but also give you that sometimes uncomfortable truth. That is huge. That is a huge piece, because, you know, sometimes when you get constructive criticism or you're told no, that is a horrible idea, depending on what mouth that comes from, can be taken in so many directions. And I don't know about you, but I don't like being told that my ideas are horrible. So, or like I didn't do a good job doing something. So when I can think of somebody specifically, she's one of my peers, but she's a mentor to me in a direction of where like we collaborate with each other, and I reach out to her for advice on some like training and development pieces. And I'm not sad or upset if she's like, oh, that's horrible, or oh, that doesn't look good, or that doesn't make sense, because those are the kind of people that you want in your corner to be an advocate and a mentor to make sure that you're steering your ship in the right direction.
That's it. They're helping you make you look good, right? Sometimes we have to hear things that we don't want to hear in the process, but we're better for it in the end, for sure. Awesome. Anything else anybody wanted to add before we have a lot of questions to get to? I'm like, okay, it's already 11:33. We got less than 20 minutes to go. All right. So it may feel like women are held to a higher standard to prove their worth in the professional world. I don't know if anyone has those feelings. How do you manage the idea of perfectionism to combat impossible personal expectations? Because I live it every day. I feel like it's got to be just right, or it's not good enough. And I know that that's not reasonable. And so, do you guys feel the same way? And if so, how do you manage that?
For me, I'll jump in real quick because this is just what popped in my head. I think it's knowing your self-worth, to know enough that you're gonna fail sometimes, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, you're there for a reason. Know when to step back and just take a minute, because you were hired for a purpose. You were hired to do something. Don't let something that, in one day, one moment, one conversation knock you off. Persevere. At the end of the day, you are an incredible human being with a tremendous ability to control your destiny. You are doing all the right things. You're enrolled in a fantastic university with a tribe already around you. I mean, there's people already here. You don't have to start from scratch. And just know that you're not alone. Reach out to somebody. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have your idea be told no. It's okay to go home and want to kick the dog. You don't want to go home and kick the dog every night, but it happens. I mean, oh my gosh, it's tough. And anybody who says when you find your career it's easy, they're lying. I mean, it's really tough, because when you're passionate about something, you hold yourself to a really high standard, and a lot of things happen out of your control, like COVID. I'm sure derailed all of our jobs, the four of us. It has been a whirlwind. But we just figure it out, and I keep in the back of my mind, I'm gonna be stronger because of this. I'm gonna come out of this and say, this was a chapter of my life that I never want to reread, but it's there and it's taught me something. And if I can do this, I can do anything.
I'm going to jump in after Lauren for that one, because the unrealistic standard thing has been a common theme in my career, and no one can be harder on me than I am on myself. But now, as a leader of my team, because I know that I set that unrealistic expectation of myself, I can empathize with others, and I can create a culture that allows people to make mistakes as well, right? Like that culture was given to me that, hey, the expectation was set. Mistakes are going to happen. It's not about the mistake. It's about your ability to learn from the mistake and not repeat it, which I genuinely thought everyone had that. I genuinely thought everyone made a mistake, learned from it, and then didn't repeat it. But it turns out that is a thing that can separate you from your peers, right? So having the open mind and being open to getting the guidance of the mistake, or how to not repeat the mistake, or how to do better, has, again, back to the mentorship, that's really enabled me to have mentorships, because I've been able to hear the feedback not let it destroy my self-worth or self-confidence, and then do better next time. And now as a manager of others, I'm able to implement that in the culture that we have as a team is, listen, mistakes are going to happen and we're going to learn from it. And I would even encourage my team at times to share the mistake with their peers so they don't make it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Owning up to those, definitely a helpful, a humble part of that process. For sure, but it helps lead the way for others. Anything else anyone wants to add?
I think everybody's covered it. I think just knowing the expectation is you're going to make mistakes, but what separates you from everyone else is learning from those instead of constantly repeating them.
Yep. Ladies, it's okay to make a mistake. It's going to happen. So, all right. Moving on to the next question. I love this one. Have you ever heard the comment that you're bossy, intimidating, or too direct? If so, how do you address those types of comments?
I normally say you're welcome. No, yeah, I mean, it's the perception of women get told they're all of those things, right? They're all the things, but a man is doing his job. I think when you come into a company that has those layers of female leaders, it diminishes, where we all mentioned we have some strong female leaders. So I personally don't hear that as much because my mentor, my boss, has broken those barriers. But there are times when I'm in a smaller group, right, and I hear it, but I roll on because I know those are things that make me special. Those are things that set me apart. And I'm in that, again, self-worth. I'm in that room for a reason. And that person is probably just intimidated by me, right? Like, I am woman, hear me roar, and they don't understand. And it's coming out as you're bossy, you're too aggressive. But I'd rather be told to, I'd rather get pulled back than need to be pushed.
Yeah, I think that's totally spot on. I think that communication is super important, right? And I do think that there is a bit of awareness that we always have to be mindful of too, right? Because, yeah, exactly, Lauren, where you say like men, they can say the same thing that a female is saying, and it comes across like two different languages. When really we're like saying literally the same thing, we have the same expectations. So, I do think that there is some mindfulness in an approach, which can be annoying and can be frustrating, but if we're identifying that and we recognize that, I think that's what makes us better. And that's what helps us, in the long run, and really that communication piece and being strategic in sometimes the things that we say, or not the things that we say, but how they are heard. So that's all I got.
I'm going to piggyback off of Amy there too, because for a while in my career, I thought it was, I have to change who I am because they think I'm too much or I'm too aggressive. And the thing is I don't have to change who I am, but I do have to be adaptable and I have to be able to read a room. And that took so long for me to learn how to do. And I find that when I get super passionate is when I can be looked at as condescending or too much or overly aggressive or too direct or whatever they want to pick, whatever word they want to pick that day. But, and yeah, you're too much, turn it down, right? And I want to just share this experience because this is, again, such passionate topics. Amy, you came up with some great questions. I worked with a manager for a really long time who was very old school, and I would not exchange this experience for the world, because what that taught me was how to combat when those things are said to me instead of just accepting it and going home and crying, right? Because that's really what I did in the beginning of my career. And I was told once, like, oh, you dang millennials. And I responded with, you call it millennialism, but I call it ambition. And I'm sorry that makes you uncomfortable, but growth is opportunity. And I was never called that again. And from that moment on, we had a mutual respect in our relationship. Whereas instead of saying, like asking someone else to speak in my place or be an advocate, I had to own my own voice in that moment. And there's a way to do it with respect and dignity and grace, but also say, like, I'm here to stay without making their egos, without making others' egos feel different, right? So I too am in a very male-dominated industry, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but it's taught me how to be a team player and how to be adaptable, which you never perfect, right? So back to the perfectionism thing, I will never be perfect at adapting my communication style, but it is something that I can continually strive to get better at. And the more I listen and the less I speak, most of the time is really the best course of action, because now I'm listening to understand rather than to just give an answer. I can go down the rabbit hole with that question. So turn it back over to Ashley.
I think you guys had great points. I think the biggest thing for me is, again, it's a male dominant world over here. And when I came in, HR had more females, but our VP was a male. So I had a lot of things that I wanted to change. And with it being a trucking company, things were a little outdated. And I came into a meeting and had a laundry list of things that I wanted to update and change. And it was, stop. What are you doing? It was too aggressive. And now looking back on it, we had a consulting group come in and they were like, why weren't you doing this stuff years ago? And I was like, we're doing it now. It was very pleasing to listen to them and rewarding to listen to them say, yes, this is things that we should be doing. But I was too aggressive at one point with my laundry list. And now it's, well, now we got to get these things done. And you're like, I've been working on it.
Awesome, ladies. Yeah, I hear, I'm not sure, like, while you students are absorbing all of the stuff in the classroom, there's so much that you're going to learn outside of the classroom, those people skills, your ability to deliver a message and change that based upon who your audience is and how that's received. I mean, these are things that we don't necessarily learn in the classroom, although what you're learning is very, very important. But those nuanced communication skills, I think are going to be super important moving forward. All right, we are running out of time furiously. So let's get to, let's do one more question from our curated list so we can open it up if anyone has any just general questions. Let's see here. I love this one. What was your organizational culture like 5 years ago, 10 years ago towards women, and how has that changed for you all?
I can go. So for me, I think that enterprise has always been super, super great at the awareness of the importance of diversity, inclusion, and equity in the workspace. And yes, it is. We've all echoed each other in saying that we all work in very male-dominated industries. But what I've loved and what I've seen from day one with enterprise is that we want more strong female leaders in our workspace because, well, we are awesome. But we want that and we need that. In order to be successful, you have to have a diverse work group to be able to really give the best performance. And so from day one, honestly, I have seen that. I have seen the spirit, the nature, the intention there. And I truly appreciate that. And I think that that's one of the reasons why, I have stayed with enterprise as long as I have, is because the good things and the right things are being done. Sometimes it's not as fast as you want it to though, right? And so where we want to have great female leadership in our industry and, these vice president positions or these regional vice president positions, we need those great people to start as management trainees. And we need them to really understand that it takes, time to get to those high level positions. And so I think that we are doing, and over the past, I would say 3-4 years, I've seen a lot more focus and intention on getting the right people in the right places too. So I definitely give kudos because I think that everything is, the way that it should be from that level.
I'll piggyback off of that. So 10 years ago, I was not here. It's different for me personally than, but outside of Epes Transport. I think the biggest thing for us is 3 years ago, right after I started, we joined Women in Trucking. And it is where they acknowledge drivers in office, non-drivers, everyone, as far as the role that they play as a female in the trucking industry. And I would say that that group in general has probably been the biggest advocate for us and probably other trucking companies, to be honest with you. There's not very many female drivers, and they were looked at differently for sure for a very long time. We do awards now and stuff like that. We are trying really hard to promote the women in trucking so much, not only for the drivers, but for the non-drivers. But I would say in a male dominant industry in general, that's probably been the biggest thing for us. And now, I mean, everyone joins when they arrive, and we give them access to it if they want to continue that. But we do their shows and their conferences and stuff like that too. But it's been huge for us. And our president's male, and he 100% backs it up. And he was one of the few that was trying to push it originally. So it's been great for us.
Wanted to end on a positive note, right? It's not good things are happening or have happened. So anything else that anybody wants to add?
Yeah, I'll just throw in a quick little similar to Amy's with Enterprises. Our company as a whole have really put focus on, unfortunately, we put a great amount of focus on women, and now we're expanding the focus to across all diversity, right? Just making sure that that is a top of priority, not just because diversity, but because, like we were talking about with the mentorships, the experiences, and all of that changes your decisions in business based off of people's backgrounds and their experiences with life in general. We have something called the Women's Resource Group internally where organic mentorships can form, and you can take leadership roles and really take on more responsibilities and develop professionally. But that group maybe 10 years ago had 20 to 30 people in it. And now at our annual NSM, post-COVID, obviously, our national sales meeting, that group, you can't get in the room. I mean, the room is jam-packed. And it's not just hiring the right people, but it's developing and making sure that women have the same opportunities to develop as a male counterpart. This is what happens when the passion gets me going. I can't make words.
All I would add, and I know we're short on time, is there's been a big push recently for ID&E, that equality, diversity, equity. The E can be inclusion, whatever you want it to be, or the I. I think 10 years ago, right, that wasn't as prevalent. 5 years ago, that wasn't as prevalent. I think that women's can umbrella it under that, right? I think my company, personally, we've always just hired and developed people based on qualities and skills. I think as a whole, when you look at big business and companies, we're paying for the sins of the past, right? There's just been an awful lot of that not happening. And so 5-10 years ago at my company, we always looked at just the skill, the person. My manager, my mentor, who's been our vice president of human resources, who's just been promoted up into our larger company, she was in her role 30 years ago, right? So she was identified 30 years ago, just as one example. But again, I think the big ID&E push is part of, or EDI, I don't, interchange the lingo there, however you want, is because we're paying for the sins of the past. So I think that you'll just start seeing that trend evolve more and more and more, which is good for us. And just to keep on the forefront, it's just good to hire people, to develop people based on skills and qualifications, in my opinion.
Excellent points to end on, ladies. I think that there's hope. There's really amazing things happening in really fantastic companies. And so I'm hoping Thursday that you go and introduce yourselves to all 4 of these wonderful women and share, you know, what you enjoyed about today's session with them. We are out of time, unfortunately, but ladies, if you wouldn't mind if you want to share your email address or contact information in the chat box, so the students that are here today maybe can follow up with you if they have questions. And then Allie would love for you to draw our winners quickly. We'll do 3 drawings. We have a Sherwin-Williams swag bag, an Amazon gift card, and an Enterprise tumbler that will be given away to 3 lucky winners today. And ladies, thank you for your insight today. It was really, we need more time together, unfortunately, but that's why you can come back during Women of Walker, right? In the spring, and we'll have more time. It's my shameless plug.
So as Amy mentioned, we do have some gifts courtesy of the panelists. Also, I'm going to share my screen real quick, maybe. Let's see. And then we will go from there. All right. Can you see the wheel? Maybe.
Oh,
Yes, no, nod.
what's that?
Okay.
Yes, we can see the wheel. Yep, you were good.
Beautiful. All right, and our first one is Christina. Congratulations.
Yay.
If you will, like she said, email me and tell me that you won. That way I can get you on the list. All right, and then next we got
I love the wheel. It's my favorite thing that we do. Madeline, good job.
and finally, drum roll, please.
All right, Katie.
Lovely ladies will, if you will shoot me an email telling me your contact information, how to get this to you. I believe we're mailing. Is that right, Amy?
Well, the
Beautiful.
employers can bring,
So if you will send me,
they can bring it with them this
Okay.
week if they're going to be here at the career fair, and then we can have that at the our center for students to come by and pick up if we want to bypass the shipping part.
beautiful. So come pick up your gifts. That way we don't have to pay for shipping. So if you will just shoot me an email, tell me that you won, and we'll get it to you. Thank you, ladies, so much. I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right, fantastic. Ladies, thank you for your time, your talent, your perspective. We appreciate you so much. And we look forward to seeing you later this week.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Amy.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
ladies.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.